Face on.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler. This is episode number 238, and today's topic is the future of WordPress, Gutenberg. Let's go around the room real quick and get everyone introduced. Dave the Face Margowski. How about you?
I'm Dave Margowski. I am the project manager for PixelJar.
Nice. Good to have you here. How about you, Matt?
I'm Matt Cromwell, head of support at givewp.com.
Sweet. Good to have you. How about you, Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Weefeld. I'm the project manager at Zeek Interactive.
Sweet. Weston, how about you?
Yeah, Weston Ritter. I'm CTO at XWP and WordPress contributor.
Sweet. Good to have you. How about you, Steve?
I am Steve Zangen. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
Awesome. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter, and my site is WPwatercooler.com. So go check out all those things that are going on over there.
I like Dave's framing today. He's slightly off to the left. We're all centered, but he's off to the left.
He's working, he's working the angles there.
The golden ratio, the rule of thirds.
Golden ratio, exactly.
Orson Welles level composition.
Yeah, that's what he was going. That's what he was going for.
So I'd imagine that all of you did your homework and you've installed Gutenberg and kind of played around with it. Gutenberg is a new kind of idea of being able to write blog posts and being able to create them kind of in the style of like Medium, where you just have these blocks and you can kind of put a block in there and write some text in there. And if you keep pushing like, return after each or enter, depending on if you're a Mac or Windows person, and be able to just kind of go through there and update each of those different blocks. And you can be able to write some text out and be able to slide in new stuff and put in quotes and quote boxes and images and all that fun stuff. So if you ever use Medium, it's kind of in that style, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's also resurrecting some of the key concepts that were being introduced in WordPress 3.6 with post formats. I don't know if you remember the UI for when you selected a different post format, whether it be audio or image, and the UI would change based on which post format you selected. That's going to be finally realized with Gutenberg, where if you select a post format, it will use like image as the post format, then you have an image block that you then manipulate. And so there's more structured data in your posts.
Interesting.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I was playing around with it both last night as well as this morning, just kind of getting an idea of what's involved in it and how it's going to end up working. The current state of it is obviously it's in a beta state. They even give you an area where you can just kind of open up the demo and then play around with the demo text and images and all that stuff that's in there, so you can kind of get a rough idea of how things are looking.
Is it a beta state or an alpha state?
Well,
I'd say more alpha than beta.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm running a beta version of my phone OS, and
I was going to say your computer's in an alpha state today.
Exactly, but the idea of kind of playing around with something that's totally new, that's just it may not be new to the internet, but new to WordPress itself, kind of brings up a few questions about how that particular interface is going to work with both our clients. Steve's definitely going to install this like version 1 for all of his clients, right, Steve?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right now.
We just go for it. Why wait for version 1?
Right?
0.9. Make it happen.
But there's also some interesting things when it comes to using this with things that kind of already do this in a way where, like Beaver Builder, you can take elements within Beaver Builder in a post if you turned it on posts and kind of drag out pieces and put stuff in there. It seems like with Gutenberg, it's more along the lines of you don't have to go and drag pieces in. You just start typing. And if you want to modify the existing block that you put out there, you can just pick a different block and start adding additional features to it.
And it's really like, go ahead.
Go ahead, Weston.
I was going to say that the Gutenberg guys have been working with the Gutenberg team as well and starting to collaborate on taking the best ideas from all the different page builders and finally bringing them together into core so that we can avoid reinventing the wheel with every theme and page builder plugin that's out there.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? Like what you were saying, that the Gutenberg people versus the people that are on the WordPress team. So is this two different projects kind of being merged together into WordPress, or?
Well, it's a featured plugin right now. So a lot of the Gutenberg contributors may not have necessarily been contributing to core previously. But so all the Gutenberg work is being done in the context of the feature plugin.
Ah, I see.
And are folks actually reaching out to other page builder authors, like, or are page builder authors actually contributing to Gutenberg in any way?
Yeah, Beaver Builder is contributing. I've also been communicating with Taylor, page builder, and yeah, I want to make sure that we need to make sure that all the different page builder plugins are up to speed on the direction, and that we can make sure that we incorporate what they have learned in their development, and hopefully ease the transition for them, so that instead of having to make a lot more work for them, we can instead reduce the amount of work they have to do by allowing them to leverage what's in core instead of having their own code bases to maintain.
But what's going to happen if I've built a site on Beaver Builder and then Gutenberg gets installed? Right now, I've got a page builder within a page builder.
There's an issue open for integration with Beaver Builder right now, but they're definitely exploring data portability between Gutenberg and Beaver Builder.
It's like, which one's gonna? It seems like just like cognitively somehow either Gutenberg has to be like a module of Beaver Builder, or Beaver Builder has to be a module of Gutenberg. Like, which way are we going to spin this? And if that feels overly complicated too, and then you have to ask, well, why do both at that point as well? But
if I may, when I took a spin through Gutenberg, and I mean, I've been reading some other, thoughts on it, including Chris Lemma's, which she posted today. I think it's one of those things where, like, Gutenberg, the way I saw it, answers a lot of questions that I get from clients all the time. Like being able to separate headlines and body text, because sometimes I'll get a phone call and it's somebody like, I was just trying to make this a headline. Why is my entire paragraph all of a sudden a headline? And so I think it takes what were tiny MCE controls and turns them into a more intuitive visual, breakdown, so that you don't have to go in and fix HTML if you accidentally bold an entire paragraph when you just wanted one word. But is it supposed to be a page builder?
So version 1 is essentially a linear list of blocks. Version 2 will introduce the ability to do columns and rows and to do layout within the context of the page or post content. Then version 3, we're looking at then introducing those same layout concepts at the whole theme level, so header and sidebar and footer. But Gutenberg is very much focused on the abstracted live preview structured content view into your content, and whereas page builders are more focused on the front end and what it actually looks like in the end. So I think that's where page builders are going to really shine, is giving you control over the fine-grained styling of the blocks, whereas Gutenberg is very much focused on the semantics and the content. I think the page builders are really going to focus on the visual aspects.
Let's break down what you just said, because you just lost our entire audience.
You lost me too.
Yes. Let's talk about the abstracted layer that you referred to for a moment, right? What does that mean?
Yeah, so essentially, like, what your theme may have like a black background with white text.
Good.
Whereas Gutenberg is going to have a white background and black text. So it's going to be without styles applied, very structured, very much semantically, this is a heading, this is an image, this is a video. But on the front end, the page template may say, this page template requires a video block, a image block, a heading block. And whereas the Gutenberg editor may have these in a linear list, the page template may arrange them in a way that is specific to that template.
All right. So for the rest of our audience, it's still a little lost, right? So I'm going to try to say this a little bit differently. Gutenberg will adopt the style of whatever is in your theme, right? So let's start there. Is that correct?
Yeah. The front end. Yeah.
right?
For
So
instance,
if I make a layout in Gutenberg, it will adopt that style. However, will a theme need to be Gutenberg compatible to use all the blocks that are in Gutenberg? Sarah's raising her hand for some reason. I'm not sure why. Just interrupted.
I think just point of order, Gutenberg, the editor, is not going to take your theme.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
It's not going to what?
Take the elements of your theme.
The editor's not, but once you edit and build your content and you view it on the front end, it will adopt the style of your theme. Is what I
Yes. Yeah.
On the front end, yeah.
Yeah.
There are some features of Gutenberg that will require theme support. For example, there's the image block that has right now the concept of full width and full bleed, like wider than normal images. And there's a discussion right now about those being opt-in via theme support. So it's definitely theme support, theme compatibility is definitely a concern and is being focused on as well.
Yeah.
So
I asked this because Beaver Builder requires you to really use the Beaver Builder theme to get all of the features, right? If you're not using the Beaver Builder theme, you can still have some Beaver Builder layout, but you're sort of within the content block of a theme, right? If you're just using any old theme. And I think that's true of other editors like Divi or Visual Composer. I don't use the two of those, but I think you need theme compatibility to use those visual editors. Is that correct? That was a question.
It depends case by case. I mean, the Divi theme, for example, it definitely was made to flaunt all the best features of the Divi builder. Actually, I mean, I don't want to go back too far, but it kind of, they were one thing at one point, and it's different now. But like that is the intention, is that the Divi theme flaunts the Divi builder, all of its abilities and options and whatnot. So that's a big deal. But generally speaking, like what you said, if you're not using the theme that's made with that builder, actually, the best way to explain it in my mind is Tailor is a really great builder that Weston mentioned a little bit ago, and its whole intention from the beginning was really just to allow you to do some layouts within the content area only. It doesn't care about anything outside the content area at all. And Beaver Builder and Divi, they all try to basically give you a lot more control over the whole entire page in general. So
and what you just described about Tailor is the impression I got from Gutenberg. Now, I didn't do a deep dive, but at least in the version that's out now, you're dealing with the content area, right? Sure. You're not dealing with anything outside of that.
That, in my mind, because I have played with Tailor a bit and have chatted with the author a few times, Gutenberg looks like a Tailor killer at this point. Like there would not be a reason to use Tailor once Gutenberg is in core, basically.
Taylor Swift?
Maybe. I mean, ideally, I'm just kidding.
That's the mobile version that's coming out, right?
It makes me curious. What is the goal for Gutenberg? Like, why is it something that should come into core? Good, excellent.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Well, like when we were,
I questioned it when I was.
Well, I'll kind of add to that. So, like when we were talking about this particular subject during our probably last couple days, we were trying to figure out like what other editors were out there, and there used to be a lot of tiny MCE replacements that were out there. That there was like an ultimate one, and essentially they turned the kitchen sink into like the entire kitchen, So I can see where like those types of things, made it so it was easier to put like columns in or something like that. But now you're getting to the point where it's like it's not just columns, it's all this other stuff too. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what its goal is other than to be able to have blocks of text that you can now move around and do other things with. But it sounds like it's more of a structured layout than just being a bunch of text that you're putting in there with styles.
The other builder that it kind of reminds me of that doesn't actually really exist all that much anymore, it's now called Lasso, but before it was Aesop's Story Engine. They were very much front-end oriented, but the idea from everything I saw from it was really that it was about creating a long-form story that has lots of great media elements built throughout it. And I think from my perspective, and I'm not Weston, I'm not a core contributor or contributing to the Gutenberg directly yet, but from my perspective, I know what better things do I have to do right now? But I think that it's addressing the fact that people write content with complex elements today. Like that's the norm now. The norm isn't, I'm just going to write a whole bunch of paragraphs and hit publish, which TinyMCE was fine for doing that. But if I'm going to, have some really beautiful block quotes or a pull quote, or I'm going to have a gallery stuck in the middle, TinyMCE out of the box really sucks in that regard. Particularly when you throw a bunch of crazy themes at it, or other plugins or shortcodes that try to mess it up everywhere. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, similar to what Sarah was saying earlier about her client questions and whatnot, Gutenberg is trying to attack being able to do a post that has an element of complexity and beautifulness to it.
Yeah, and also to Sarah's point about it's so easy to totally mess up your content in TinyMCE if you accidentally select too much text and you drag it in the wrong place. You can totally screw up your
use
content.
A soft return instead of a hard return.
Yeah, and so Gutenberg gives much more structure to the content, and it prevents you from being able to do that. And it gives a lot more. By being more structured, it then also allows for extension developers to do a lot more things that they couldn't do previously.
Mm-hmm.
Weston, my big question though is when you were mentioning earlier about the way that Gutenberg is going, why isn't Gutenberg considering being more directly a front end editor? Wouldn't that be the goal at the end of the day, or shouldn't that be the goal?
I think there's two use cases. A lot of people don't want to write. They want to have, there's the distraction-free writing people, and then there's the front-end editing people. And I think for layout and for design, you want the front end. But if you're just day-to-day writing blog posts, users would tend toward the distraction-free writing mode, where you're just focused on the content and you don't care about the style. And yeah.
And you've also, I think, Matt, you've also got a technical issue when you're developing a front end editor, because you've got a serious theme compatibility issues. When you're doing something like that.
Sure, but at the end of the day, it's still, especially the way that's being built out, Gutenberg still represents just the one function called the content. It's still the content, and every theme has to be compatible with that in one way or another.
Yeah, and front-end editing is something that I am keenly interested in regards to Customizer and the transition from Gutenberg editor focus to customization focus, because with blocks being a thing, there is a way to model the data in a way that it can then be edited on the front end. And a lot of the foundation that's been built in the customizer with doing things like selective refresh and a lot of the pieces that we've been building in the customizer will then be able to directly take advantage of these blocks as being these self-contained editable pieces that we can just drop into the customizer preview or even onto the front end itself. So definitely front-end editing is going to be facilitated by Gutenberg, though it's not directly the problem that Gutenberg is focused on at the beginning.
Yeah. Is there any talk, or is this an effort to competing with some of the other products that are out there that are WordPress competitors, like Wix or Squarespace? Again, I'm not familiar with those editors, but I do hear some comparisons there, and I'm wondering if that talk happens on the Gutenberg team.
I think actually Matt addressed that in his Q&A at WordCamp Europe, with Gutenberg being an attempt to leapfrog.
I wasn't at WordCamp Europe. I wasn't there.
but it was in the video.
That Matt. Oh, no.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Matt Mullenweg. Sorry. Apologies.
People get us confused a lot. Yeah.
And yeah, so that was one of his points in that Q&A that he had with Malik, was Gutenberg is an attempt to leapfrog the other editors.
It was an intentional softball question for you, Weston.
It's out of the park.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's it then.
A 20-minute awkward silence. I got more questions. I got lots of thoughts. So you were, Weston, as you were laying out the version 2, version 3, I mean, if Matt Mullenweg mentioned that most likely, or they're aiming for inclusion in core and in WordPress version 5.0. At which point, bless you, at which point would what version of Gutenberg would that be? Would that be version 1 that goes into core? And then also, like, if there's a lot of technical or feature additions that you guys are considering right now, wouldn't those get major revisions or changes or one as soon as it's in core? Because then you have the core team who is really going to be very invested, I would say, in how things get built out. So
WordPress 5.0 would have Gutenberg v1, so that would be the linear, maybe layout, some degree of layout as well. But yeah, what it looks like after the initial merge and how future development is done, whether it's done in the context of the plugin or WordPress core itself and patches, that has yet to be discussed.
What was exciting to me when I first saw it was I come from a print background, so it looked like, you know, like an InDesign space or a QuarkXPress space. Because I'm really old. And so the idea of having that kind of control was exciting. Now I realize at a certain point you're going to kind of be moving past the simplification that is the goal. But have you guys talked about some other controls as far as things like line spacing and I mean, once you're in that kind of a user experience, it seems like there's a lot of fine controls that can be added.
It's like a full CSS editor built into it of here's some height and widths and here's, you know.
No, yeah. I think what Dave's saying is he wants QuarkXPress integrated into.
Could you just make me that?
That's totally possible and not bloated whatsoever.
I think that the direction that core would go in is, according to the design principles of WordPress, decisions over options, and to leave the theme developer, to give the theme developer to make the decision that this block should have this line spacing, for example, but to have in place extensibility hooks where page builders, for example, page builders could then augment blocks with all the different styling properties and different controls that a power user may want, and basically to become a theme developer via page builder plugins.
Is Gutenberg open where I can add my own blocks as a developer?
Yeah, you can add blocks as a plugin.
Cool. So hey, let's add a QuarkXPress block.
There we go.
I'm calling them.
So instead of having to teach someone how to use shortcodes, now I can just say, hey, we're building you a block, and you can just use that.
Exactly. And when you register a block, they will be then listed in the inserter, so that you don't have to, you know, refer somewhere to find out what the code is that you embed into your post.
Cool.
That seems legit.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of shortcode bloat as it is right now in WordPress, where you have shortcodes you don't even know you have that are available to you, yet, you know, there's no real good way of being able to do it. And, you know, even back with Tiny MCE, you'd have developers who would come up with ways of adding additional buttons to the site or the editor that you can then add. So I don't know if we're going to see a huge influx of new stuff showing up to do this, or if it's going to be something where it's easy enough to do it. Because to try to do it in Tiny MCE, you know, is a bit hacky, at least the way that I've seen it addressed.
Just to talk about bloat for a second, one of the things I did look at when I was reviewing Gutenberg is I flipped back and forth between the visual and the text, and the code is really clean compared to something like Visual Composer, right? I mean, the code, it's just a couple of extra tags that it's adding. You look at you do that same thing I did in Visual Composer, and you've got 1,000 lines of code just to write one paragraph.
So many nested divs. Yeah, what's up with that? Absolutely.
Ooh-wee.
What's up?
What's up?
I said, what's up?
Going back to the complexity, like there's a lot of objects or embeds that WordPress supports right now via embed, but you don't really know what WordPress supports without just like pasting a URL and hoping that, oh, is this Facebook video gonna magically turn into a video when I paste this URL? And as a user, you would have no idea to even do that to begin with. So that's part of what Gutenberg does, is it exposes all of those secret embeds that WordPress does support as embed blocks. And so the list of blocks is very large right now. And that's one of
there are a ton of embeds.
One of the usability concerns right now is working out a better UI for that inserter, so that just like with emoji, like there's how many hundreds of thousands of emoji or Unicode characters, but there is a well-defined UI for getting the most recent ones you've used or the ones you're probably going to use. And so working out a better UX for selecting the blocks that you'd probably be using is going to be a key part of this.
But it's good to know it's good to know that I can embed my College Humor videos.
Yeah. There was some embed things like ISU. I have no idea what ISU is, but now I'm going to use it all the time. I don't know. I really like that you can just paste the URL of an embed and it just shows up. But like you said, users don't know what they can and can't embed and whatnot. But I wrote an article about Gutenberg the other day, and I was like, I hope that I don't see the purpose in bloating that whole thing up with 25 different types of embed when most users, 99% of users, aren't going to use 99% of those icons. So, but I'm hoping that there's just one button that says embed, and then that UI that's inserted there can then show them their options there, rather than, because that insert area, like you said, is so tiny. It's hard. I think
there is still a generic embed, and you will still be able to just paste a URL, and it will hydrate into an embed block as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, according to Google, millions of readers find and share the magazines, catalogs, and publications they love on ISU.
I'm sure they do.
Oh, that's the magazine thing.
ISSUU.
That's fancy.
Yeah. It takes a magazine PDF and it makes it do the thing.
Do the what? Do the thing?
Speaking of the number of blocks, another thing that we're working right now is porting all widgets to be then available as blocks as well, so that you can use your latest posts or your calendar or whatever widgets you have registered in context of your post content as well.
Very cool.
That sounds like something that would be awesome.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, like, in order to search through the insert area, if maybe they'd go the Slack route and start doing slash commands. Like if you did slash widget, and then you could see what's available.
That is actually one of the prototypes, and it is planned to be implemented, where when you insert a new paragraph, you'd hit enter twice and you hit slash. Instead of having to go up and click on inserter, it could then pop open the inserter right there where your cursor is.
Yeah.
Start typing.
Cool.
Autocomplete.
Can I go slash Giphy? Can we?
Sure.
Please.
Giphy block.
Nice. That's cool. It seems so great. It seems I personally, I've heard, there's been some folks who feel like it's why should we focus on the editor? We should be looking at the front end and tackling building out pages and whatnot. But I really think overall having a more robust way to do really good content is really necessary and important for WordPress going forward. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, with the foundation in place that's being built right now, it will greatly facilitate building front-end experiences.
Awesome. Well, good work, man.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. So thank you all for being on the show today. Really appreciate your time. Make sure you go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com. You can click on the links there to subscribe. You can also find out about everybody that's on the show here. If you go look at down below in the description box, you can see pictures of all of us. You can go and click on the links there and find our websites and all the things that we do over there. So go take a look at those. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the little subscribe button or thumbs up, because we would love for folks to know about this. And if you're listening to us on audio, I appreciate a comment. Thank you very much. Talk to you all later, and goodbye.